Beneath the surface of our blue planet lies a world untouched by sunlight, a kingdom of shadows and crushing pressures where life has adapted in ways we can scarcely imagine. The Mariana Trench, Earth's final frontier, holds secrets older than human memory, creatures whose forms defy reason, and landscapes carved by forces beyond our comprehension. Today, we journey into these abyssal depths, where every inch of darkness tells a story, and where the boundary between reality and myth blurs. Will humanity ever fully grasp the lives that thrive in the eternal night, or are some secrets meant to remain hidden forever? Before we descend, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because some journeys are too extraordinary to face alone. The journey begins not with triumph, but with anticipation, a quiet tension that coils in the stomach as the vessel is lowered toward a world few have seen, and even fewer have understood. The surface shimmers under the last vestiges of sunlight, waves folding lazily against one another, indifferent to the venture below. Beneath this tranquil facade, the ocean swallows everything with patient inevitability, a vast, indifferent expanse that has existed since the birth of the planet. The Mariana Trench lies at the edge of this perception, a scar of unimaginable depth, stretching farther than the tallest mountains are high, a corridor into darkness that beckons both curiosity and fear. With each meter of descent, light diminishes in ways the mind struggles to register. What begins as a gentle dimming becomes a swallowing blackness, as if the sun itself has been exiled from this domain. Shadows take form not from illumination, but from absence. The vessel's instruments flash their own sterile readings against the void, markers in a place that knows nothing of human presence. Pressure presses relentlessly from all sides, a tangible weight that threatens to compress bones and crush steel alike. Inside the vessel, every creak of the hull is amplified, every groan of machinery a reminder of the fragility of those who dare intrude upon this realm. Outside, the water thickens like syrup, each layer colder, darker, more alien than the one above. The descent is not merely physical, it is emotional. Every heartbeat carries the weight of realization. Here, humans are intruders, transient and insignificant. The abyss is patient. It has no concern for human schedules, no need for recognition. Time stretches, measured not in minutes or hours, but in fathoms and pressure gradients, each mark deeper than the mind's conception of depth. Geological formations pass silently, eerie in their unfamiliarity. Slopes of fractured basalt, terraces carved by forces older than civilization, rise and fall in ghostly patterns, suggesting that even in darkness, the earth sculpts with deliberate artistry. Rocks gleam faintly under artificial light, revealing textures that speak of ancient violence, tectonic plates colliding, molten rock cooled into obsidian ridges, scars left by cataclysms long forgotten by those who walk the surface. Life, when it appears, is stranger still. The first flickers are subtle, almost imperceptible, a glint, a shimmer, a hint of movement in the black. Tiny organisms drift past like drifting stars in a night sky, their translucent forms glowing faintly, an alien ballet choreographed by necessity rather than design. Here, bioluminescence is the only language, a conversation conducted in flashes and pulses, a code developed over millions of years of isolation and pressure. The creatures are not miniature curiosities. They are survivors, perfectly evolved to endure conditions that would annihilate terrestrial life. Each glimpse brings wonder and trepidation. The mind struggles to reconcile the familiarity of biology with the strangeness of form, the elegance of survival with the grotesque geometry of adaptation. Instruments hum steadily, monitoring depth, pressure, and temperature, a lifeline tethering explorers to the world above. Yet even with technology, the sensation of vulnerability is acute. The trench stretches beneath like an endless cathedral, its vaulted halls unseen and unimaginable. Silence dominates, punctuated only by the occasional groan of machinery or the muffled voice of a crewmate. Sound behaves differently here. It is distorted, carried in strange ways through the dense medium, arriving as echoes and vibrations rather than clear words. The mind begins to feel the disorientation of this alien medium, senses adapting to a domain that rejects human intuition. As the descent continues, the psychological weight deepens. Anxiety and awe are intertwined. The mind oscillates between fascination and the innate fear of the unknown. What lies below is not merely a lack of light, it is a lack of context, a place where every instinct fails. Even seasoned explorers find themselves whispering into the void, as if speaking might summon understanding or ward off the invisible. The trench demands patience, demanding surrender to its own rules rather than human will. There is no urgency here except the slow, inevitable pull of gravity and pressure, and yet every second feels laden with significance. The vessel passes thresholds where previous expeditions recorded anomalies, shifts in salinity, sudden drops in temperature, currents that defy expectation. Here, the ocean exhibits moods subtle, inexorable, and indifferent. Turbulent flows carve canyons and ridges in ways that seem purposeful, as though the deep has a language of motion unknown to the surface. Sediment drifts slowly downward, forming clouds that shimmer and scatter artificial light, momentarily painting the black with ghostly hues. In this place, beauty is inseparable from danger. Every sight is a reminder of forces beyond human control, a landscape sculpted by time and physics rather than intention. And then there is the silence of expectation, a pause as the vessel crosses into the Hadal Zone, the deepest domain of the ocean. Here, pressure exceeds 1,000 times that at the surface, temperatures plummet, and the world as humans know it ceases to exist. There is no reference, no frame of comparison. Depth is measured only in survival and endurance. The abyss seems to stretch endlessly, a dark cathedral in which humanity is a mere whisper. Every meter traversed is both victory and surrender, a step into a realm where curiosity and humility intertwine, where knowledge is earned only at the cost of discomfort, fear, and awe. In these initial meters of the deep, the Mariana Trench ceases to be a point on a map and becomes an entity, alive in its scale, complexity, and indifference. The descent is a dialogue, quiet yet profound, between human exploration and the stubborn, eternal mysteries of the earth. As instruments chart the unknown and creatures flit briefly into view, the heart responds not just with understanding, but with reverence. Here, at the threshold of the abyss, the first lessons of the deep are clear. Survival is silent, beauty is subtle, and the unknown is absolute. The darkness waits patiently, inviting those who dare to enter, promising revelations while concealing secrets that may never be uncovered. The journey has only just begun, yet already it leaves its mark on mind and body. Pressure tightens, light vanishes, and the abyss opens wider, a void that challenges perception, tests courage, and stretches imagination. The descent continues, each moment a negotiation with forces older than humanity, each sight a reminder of life's resilience, adaptability, and mystery. With every meter, awe deepens, curiosity intensifies, and the boundary between fear and fascination dissolves into the cold, eternal black. The vessel continues its slow, deliberate journey, a fragile silhouette against the infinite black. Outside, the ocean seems less like water and more like a thick, living darkness, swallowing all pretense of depth or scale. Each meter descended transforms perception. What once seemed immense now appears trivial, dwarfed by the vastness pressing in from every direction. Time loses meaning here. Minutes blend into hours, measured only by subtle shifts in instrumentation, by the occasional flicker of bioluminescent life passing like distant stars in the void. It is a place where human senses are deceived, where the mind strains to anchor itself to reality while submerged in a realm that obeys no familiar rules. Pressure is an unrelenting companion. It is invisible yet omnipresent, a weight that presses not only against the vessel but against thought itself. Every structural groan resonates with the knowledge that above, life is ordinary, but here, existence is extraordinary by necessity. It is a reminder that the ocean is older than civilization, that these waters have witnessed eons of change, shaping creatures and landscapes in ways incomprehensible to the surface world. Inside the vessel, the explorers feel the subtle vibrations of the abyss, as if the deep is communicating in a language older than words, a pulse of history transmitted through the medium of water. Strange forms begin to emerge from the blackness, first as shadows, then as delicate shapes glowing faintly with their own light. Bioluminescent eyes peer into the vessel, curious, cautious, luminous in ways that are almost hypnotic. There is an elegance in their movement, a fluidity shaped by millennia of evolution in a world without sun or sky. Some drift in the currents, transparent and ghost-like, their internal organs faintly illuminated, revealing architecture of life both delicate and alien. Others hover with precision, small appendages fluttering in synchronization, communicating in flashes of light only perceivable by those attuned to this nocturnal symphony. The explorers cannot help but feel a sense of intrusion, an acute awareness of crossing thresholds that life has long defended with isolation. This is a place that has evolved without human interference, and yet, here we are, peering into its most private corners. Every movement of the vessel is calculated, every light emitted minimized, yet the presence of technology is inescapable. It is a dance between observer and observed, a negotiation that balances curiosity with respect, knowledge with humility. And in these moments, the mind begins to perceive the deep not as empty darkness, but as a living, breathing expanse of complex interaction, subtle energy, and silent beauty. The trench itself seems to respond, though not with intention, but with an awareness encoded in its very structure. Ridges and trenches twist and fold like frozen waves, scarred by tectonic upheavals and volcanic activity that predates human history. Mineral deposits glitter faintly under artificial illumination, revealing veins of ancient metals and crystalline formations that seem sculpted by some patient, indifferent artist. Hydrothermal vents begin to appear, faint plumes of heat and minerals rising from the seafloor, feeding unseen ecosystems. The juxtaposition of heat and pressure, of life and emptiness, creates an otherworldly landscape that challenges imagination and stirs the soul. Even the simplest organisms display adaptations that defy expectation. Tiny shrimp-like creatures cluster near vents, their bodies armored against both heat and pressure, feeding in a cycle of existence incomprehensible outside this environment. Strange tube worms stretch from mineral-rich fissures, their tentacles filtering chemicals rather than light, thriving where surface life would perish instantly. It is a vivid testament to the versatility of life, an indication that evolution is not merely a story of survival but of ingenuity, of relentless adaptation to conditions most would deem impossible. Every glance, every observation reinforces the notion that human assumptions about life are fragile constructs, illusions shattered by the stark realities of the deep. The psychological effects of this descent cannot be overstated. Isolation and absolute darkness, punctuated only by fleeting glimpses of alien life, imposes a weight as tangible as the water surrounding the vessel. Conversations within the cabin are hushed, measured, a reflection of both awe and the primal recognition that here, survival is precarious. Even familiar tasks, monitoring instruments, checking systems, adjusting lights, carry a heightened significance. Mistakes are not minor inconveniences. They could be fatal. Every decision is amplified by the environment, every movement scrutinized by circumstance. The deep does not forgive errors lightly, and the mind adapts to its demands with a mixture of reverence and fear. Yet amidst this pressure and isolation, there's beauty of a kind found nowhere else. The glow of bioluminescent creatures against the black backdrop is hypnotic, a living constellation of forms and colors constantly in flux. Shadows dance along the vessel's hull, as though the trench itself is aware, participating in this display of life. The surreal calmness of the environment belies the incredible energy required for survival. Every creature, every formation, every subtle current is a result of relentless forces, both physical and evolutionary, converging to create a balance that is as delicate as it is enduring. It is a theater of life in which humans are guests, observers without the ability to fully participate, witnesses to a performance older than civilization. The vessel passes deeper thresholds, entering regions where pressure approaches levels that seem unimaginable. Hull integrity is a constant concern, yet there is also a profound sense of trust in human ingenuity. Every rivet, every seal, every calculation represents a bridge between two worlds, the familiar surface and the alien abyss. The connection between crew and vessel becomes almost symbiotic. Understanding the machinery is understanding survival. At the same time, the mind drifts, contemplating what lies beyond the reach of instruments, in the void that human eyes cannot penetrate. Questions multiply. What creatures have adapted in ways we cannot measure? What secrets are encoded in the deep sediments? What stories has the abyss kept for eons, waiting for the rare visitor bold enough to descend? Even as instruments chart the trench in meticulous detail, the vastness overwhelms comprehension. Mountains and valleys of the seafloor unfold in silent majesty, far surpassing the scale of terrestrial landscapes. The mind struggles to reconcile these measurements with perception, to imagine the physical reality of the abyss in human terms. And yet, the emotional experience transcends quantification, a mixture of wonder, humility, and existential reflection. Here, humans are not conquerors but guests, momentarily granted access to a world that exists independently, unbound by human expectations. As this part of the descent concludes, a subtle shift occurs. The light from above is gone entirely, and the trench becomes absolute. Darkness is no longer the absence of light but a presence itself, enveloping, infinite, patient. The vessel, with its fragile human occupants, drifts into this eternal black where time and space lose meaning, and every flicker of movement becomes significant. The deep has revealed its first truths, that life persists in ways both beautiful and terrifying, that the planet harbors mysteries beyond imagination, and that exploration is both privilege and responsibility. With every meter descended, the Mariana Trench transforms from a geological feature into a living, breathing realm, one whose depths are as emotional as they are physical, as poetic as they are scientific. The vessel drifts deeper still, now fully enveloped in a darkness that seems almost tactile, a void that presses against the skin and seeps into the mind. Here, the abyss is no longer a distant concept, but a living reality, vast and incomprehensible. Every instrument reading, every gauge flicker, every faint vibration is amplified in significance. Time stretches and bends, measured only by the slow, deliberate progress downward, by the occasional flicker of bioluminescent life that punctuates the darkness with its alien glow. Each moment feels suspended, as if the universe itself is holding its breath, observing the audacity of human curiosity. Pressure, an invisible and relentless force, continues its silent assault. It is not merely a challenge to the vessel's structure. It is an omnipresent reminder of human fragility. Even the sturdiest metal seems a delicate shield against the immense weight of the water column above. Inside, the crew is acutely aware that the abyss does not yield. Here, there is no mercy, only the raw, indifferent physics of the deep. Every sound, every mechanical groan, every whispered word echoes with gravity, reverberating not just through the vessel, but through the psyche, imprinting the reality of the environment upon both body and mind. In this realm, life takes forms so strange they challenge the imagination. Tiny organisms drift past like ghosts, their translucent bodies illuminated from within, each movement precise and purposeful. They are survivors of a world that humans can barely comprehend, evolved to navigate an existence where light does not penetrate and pressure is a constant adversary. Bioluminescence becomes their language, a luminous code of communication, warning, and attraction. The patterns are mesmerizing flashes that pulse with rhythm and intent, brief illuminations that hint at intelligence or instinct, refined by millions of years of isolation. Observing them is both enchanting and disquieting, a reminder that life is far more versatile than terrestrial experience would suggest. The seafloor begins to take shape in the vessel's lights. Shadowy ridges and slopes unfold with a surreal elegance, etched over eons by tectonic forces and the inexorable flow of the deep currents. Volcanic formations rise like frozen waves, jagged and raw, their surface is a testament to violent geological history. Sediment drifts slowly, forming ghostly clouds that catch artificial illumination and scatter it into ephemeral halos, painting the trench with fleeting spectral beauty. Here, in the quiet majesty of the abyss, human perception is humbled. Scale, distance, and depth are distorted. Familiar reference points vanish, leaving only the interplay of shadow, light, and movement. Hydrothermal vents appear, their faint plumes rising from the seafloor in slow, ethereal currents. These oases of life glow faintly with the heat and minerals they emit, forming communities that thrive where sunlight cannot reach. Strange tube worms, armored shrimp, and other organisms cluster in these areas, each adapted to an existence that would be impossible above the waves. The vents create a paradoxical environment, hostile in temperature and chemistry, yet teeming with survival, a vivid demonstration of life's resilience. Here, the trench reveals one of its essential truths, that beauty and survival are not opposites, but partners in the eternal struggle against the impossible. The explorers feel a growing intimacy with the abyss. Every observation, every fleeting glimpse of a creature, every subtle change in current or sediment carries emotional weight. There is a profound sense of being both witness and participant, a delicate balance between intrusion and observation. The darkness is no longer threatening. It is communicative, speaking in a language of form, motion, and rhythm. Even in its silence, the trench conveys narrative stories of adaptation, endurance, and the slow artistry of geological processes. The mind, attuned to this rhythm, begins to perceive patterns, the delicate interweaving of life and environment, of energy and survival. Yet, the psychological strain is undeniable. Isolation, darkness, and the relentless awareness of fragility combine to create a heightened state of consciousness. Every decision, every adjustment, every minor observation is intensified by the environment. Mistakes are not merely errors. They are reminders of mortality, of the precariousness of existence in a place where nature rules without compromise. Sleep and time lose their customary meaning. The mind oscillates between alertness and introspection, between awe and existential reflection. The abyss demands not only physical endurance, but emotional resilience. As the vessel continues its descent, the first encounters with larger organisms occur. Shadowy forms glide in the distance, their size hinted at only by faint, fleeting glows or the distortion of water currents. They are ancient, enigmatic, evolved in isolation, bearing witness to epochs that predate human history. Their movements are deliberate, slow, and awe-inspiring. These glimpses inspire both wonder and fear, a reminder that the abyss is not empty, but filled with life adapted to extremes. Human presence is insignificant in comparison. We are visitors in a cathedral of evolution, our comprehension dwarfed by what surrounds us. The trench reveals contrasts that are impossible to ignore. Immense pressure and impenetrable darkness coexist with delicate bioluminescent glows and intricate ecosystems around vents. Harsh geological formations are softened by drifting sediments and ghostly life forms. The human mind struggles to reconcile these extremes, oscillating between scientific observation and emotional immersion. It is a realm that challenges perception, forcing reconsideration of assumptions about scale, light, survival, and beauty. Every meter descended reveals another layer of complexity, another dimension of mystery, another reason to marvel at the tenacity of life. As this part of the descent concludes, the abyss seems to settle into a rhythm, a cadence that is simultaneously terrifying and mesmerizing. The vessel drifts deeper, every system functioning as a lifeline, every crew member attuned to the subtle signals of the environment. The darkness is absolute now, a complete absence of sunlight, yet alive with motion and presence. Creatures flash by, vents pulse faintly, sediment drifts like clouds across the seafloor. The Mariana Trench has transformed from a concept into an experiential reality, an entity that communicates through silence, shadow, and subtle light. The explorers are no longer simply descending, they are immersed, participants in a world whose scale and mystery defy comprehension. In these depths, awe is inseparable from fear, curiosity from humility. The human mind, confronted with extremes of pressure, darkness, and alien life, is forced to expand, to adapt, to witness without the need to dominate. Every observation becomes a revelation. Every flicker of light or shadow a reminder of life's resilience. The trench is a world older than civilization, indifferent yet beautiful, terrifying yet exquisite, a place where the boundaries of perception are tested and the imagination is stretched to its limits. The descent continues, deeper into darkness, carrying with it the promise of wonders still unseen, mysteries still unsolved, and a narrative that is as emotional as it is physical. The trench deepens, and with it, the sense of human smallness becomes almost overwhelming. Above, the sun is a memory, the waves a distant echo. Around the vessel, the abyss stretches endlessly, a black void that swallows perception and redefines scale. Every meter of descent feels monumental, a negotiation between courage and humility, curiosity and caution. The mind strains to grasp the enormity of the environment, the relentlessness of pressure, the silent persistence of life that thrives in this eternal night. This is a world untouched by human interference, its rhythms dictated by physics and evolution, a realm in which humanity is both observer and outsider. Here, the vessel becomes a fragile extension of human will, a lifeline tethering explorers to a world they can no longer see or feel directly. Every creak of metal, every shift of ballast, every faint vibration from the surrounding water is imbued with significance. Instruments are scrutinized constantly, readings analyzed for anomalies that might indicate danger or opportunity. In this environment, vigilance is instinctive. Mistakes are magnified by consequence, magnified by the silence and the black that seems to close in with every passing moment. Yet, even amidst this tension, there is wonder, a quiet, persistent awe that threads through the cabin, a reminder that we are witnessing a world unlike any other on Earth. Bioluminescent life becomes more frequent, more varied. Tiny glimmers appear at first, distant sparks in the black, then larger, more complex displays, undulating forms that flicker and pulse as if communicating in a language humans cannot understand. Some drift past like living jewels, delicate appendages waving in the currents. Others hover with precision, their motions deliberate, almost ritualistic, a choreography honed over eons in a world without light. These fleeting glimpses are both beautiful and unnerving. In the absence of sunlight, these creatures create their own illumination, their own narratives, their own means of survival, reminding the explorers that life adapts with astonishing ingenuity. The seafloor begins to take on forms both alien and majestic. Hills of rock rise from the abyssal plain like frozen waves, jagged and raw, sculpted by tectonic forces beyond human imagination. Hydrothermal vents punctuate the landscape, sending up columns of mineral-rich water that feed unique ecosystems. Tube worms cluster at these vents, their feathery appendages filtering chemicals instead of light, thriving where any surface life would perish instantly. Small shrimp and crustaceans swarm around the vents, each movement purposeful, each adaptation a testament to evolution's relentless creativity. The trench is no longer merely a void. It is a habitat, a living, breathing theater of survival where every niche is occupied, every adaptation perfected. As the vessel drifts past these formations, the sense of isolation deepens. Silence dominates, occasionally punctuated by mechanical noises or the muffled voices of the crew. Sound behaves differently here. Vibrations carry through the dense water in unexpected ways, creating an eerie acoustic environment. Conversations are measured, almost reverent, as though speaking aloud might disturb the delicate balance of the abyss. The mind becomes hyper-aware, attuned to subtle signals, noticing the faintest flicker of light or shadow. Every observation feels monumental, every moment charged with significance. In these depths, curiosity is inseparable from caution, wonder inseparable from humility. Larger creatures begin to reveal themselves, though rarely in full form. Shadows glide past in the distance, outlines hinted at by bioluminescent flashes or the distortion of water currents. Their sheer size and unusual forms inspire awe. The first intimations of giants adapted to pressure, darkness, and isolation. Some move with a serpentine grace, others with ponderous, deliberate power. They are reminders that evolution takes strange and magnificent paths in the absence of sunlight, and that the surface world's rules often do not apply here. Observing them, humans feel a mixture of fear, fascination, and respect, emotions heightened by the incomprehensible scale of the environment. The trench itself is a narrative of eons. Layers of sediment, twisted ridges, and ancient rock formations tell stories of tectonic collisions, volcanic eruptions, and ocean currents that have shaped the planet for millions of years. There is a poetry in these forms, a quiet grandeur that cannot be measured by maps or charts alone. The vessel drifts through this cathedral of the deep, every formation a verse, every shadow a stanza, each revealing the passage of time on a scale far beyond human perception. In the presence of such immensity, intellect gives way to feeling, and understanding becomes entwined with awe. Psychologically, the explorers navigate a complex landscape as profound as the physical one. Isolation, darkness, and the omnipresence of pressure create an emotional intensity that is as palpable as the water pressing from all sides. Each observation carries emotional weight. Every creature encountered, every ridge illuminated by artificial light, every faint current felt against the hull, becomes a point of connection and reflection. The deep tests not only the body but the mind, challenging preconceptions, patience, and endurance. Even as the vessel moves steadily downward, there is a subtle, persistent tension, a recognition that the abyss is indifferent to human presence, yet responsive in the sense that it reveals itself only to those who approach with reverence. In this stage of the descent, the trench begins to show its duality. It is simultaneously harsh and nurturing, hostile and teeming with life. The extremes coexist in a delicate balance, a lesson written in the arrangement of vents, sediment, and bioluminescent organisms. Life persists in forms unimaginable to the surface, thriving in conditions that are both lethal and extraordinary. Every observation reinforces the realization that adaptation is the only currency in this world, that survival requires ingenuity encoded in the very DNA of its inhabitants. The abyss is a classroom without walls, teaching humility, curiosity, and the limits of human expectation. As Part 4 draws to a close, the vessel is fully immersed in the hadal depths. Darkness is complete, pressure absolute, and the scale beyond comprehension. The explorers are witnesses to a realm untouched by human influence, a world that operates on rules independent of human life. The Mariana Trench has become more than a geological feature. It is a living entity, a cathedral of mystery and resilience. Every flicker of bioluminescence, every shadow cast by unseen creatures, every ridge and trench revealed by the vessel's lights is a testament to life's adaptability and to the planet's enduring artistry. The descent has become a meditation, a dialogue with the deep, a journey that is as much internal as it is physical. In this silence, in this pressure, in this complete darkness, the first chapter of exploration comes to a natural pause. The trench has revealed its initial truths. Life thrives where it seems impossible. Evolution creates forms both strange and beautiful. And the human mind, though fragile, is capable of perceiving and appreciating the magnitude of the unknown. The descent will continue, carrying explorers deeper into the abyss, where even greater marvels and mysteries await. But for now, the first 1,000 meters of darkness have left their indelible mark. The Mariana Trench has spoken, and humanity has listened, albeit in whispers. The descent presses on, and the Mariana Trench reveals its most uncompromising aspects. Pressure is now absolute, a constant and visible weight that seems to seep into the mind as much as it does the vessel. Every meter downward reinforces the realization that this is a world unconcerned with human existence, indifferent to our curiosity and determination. The blackness has become all-encompassing, a tangible presence that wraps around the vessel like a living entity, dense and patient. The mind, faced with such immensity, begins to oscillate between awe and humility, fascination and fear, and yet curiosity refuses to yield. The environment here is a symphony of extremes. The seafloor undulates in alien topography, mountains rising and falling in jagged, frozen formations that defy terrestrial comparison. Volcanic ridges thrust from the abyss, their surfaces scarred by eons of geological violence. Sediments drift slowly, forming clouds that shift with currents imperceptibly, catching the vessel's artificial light in fleeting, ethereal glimmers. Hydrothermal vents erupt sporadically, releasing mineral-rich plumes that sustain delicate ecosystems, glowing faintly in the black. Life clusters around these vents in strange, almost ceremonial patterns. Tube worms, armored shrimp, and other creatures that survive not through sunlight, but through chemical energy, a process both alien and astonishing in its ingenuity. Larger forms begin to assert themselves more clearly. Shadowy silhouettes glide in the distance, their movement deliberate and measured, a contrast to the smaller, flickering organisms that drift aimlessly in the currents. These creatures are ancient, evolved in isolation, their physiology perfectly adapted to crushing pressures and complete darkness. Their bodies are both grotesque and beautiful, a paradox of nature's experimentation in the absence of light. Occasionally, a bioluminescent flash reveals outlines that hint at enormous size, serpentine grace, or bizarre appendages evolved for purposes that humans can barely comprehend. Each encounter carries a thrill of discovery and a subtle, persistent fear. These are not creatures designed for surface life, and their presence serves as a reminder of humanity's fragility. The psychological effect of the hadal environment is profound. Isolation in total darkness, surrounded by creatures that have never seen sunlight, creates an acute awareness of vulnerability. Inside the vessel, conversations are minimal, each word measured, each silence weighted. The mind adapts to the constant tension, honing perception to detect subtle changes in instrument readings, currents, or faint flashes of light. Every observation becomes amplified. Every encounter carries significance beyond its physical manifestation. The abyss tests more than endurance. It tests imagination, emotional resilience, and the capacity to find meaning in a world governed by forces indifferent to human life. There is a rhythm to the abyss, subtle and persistent, revealed in currents that fold and shift in ways both predictable and strange. In the pulse of vent communities, in the slow, deliberate motions of shadowy giants. The vessel drifts through this rhythm, an intruder yet participant, bound by curiosity and caution alike. Observing these forces, humans are forced to relinquish control, to accept that understanding may never be complete. Knowledge is piecemeal, fleeting, arrived at through patience, respect, and keen observation. And yet, the emotional impact is immediate. The trench is awe-inspiring, humbling, and relentlessly beautiful. A reminder that the natural world operates on scales, both physical and temporal, far beyond human conception. Bioluminescence dominates the sensory landscape, a light that exists not for aesthetics, but for survival. Tiny flashes communicate, lure, or warn. Complex patterns flicker and pulse, weaving a narrative of life imperceptible to untrained eyes. The explorers watch, mesmerized, as these glows illuminate fleeting glimpses of formed translucent bodies, tentacles unfurling, eyes reflecting the faintest hint of the vessel's artificial light. Each interaction is brief, a moment of revelation in a realm defined by impermanence. Here, life exists on the edge, in delicate balance with its extreme environment, a testament to evolution's capacity for innovation under pressure. The trench itself tells its own story, written in stone and sediment, in ridges and fissures, in currents shaped by eons. Each formation is a narrative of Earth's geological history, a chronicle of forces and events that predate human memory. Volcanic activity, tectonic shifts, and sedimentation converge to create a landscape of silent majesty. There is a poetry to these structures, a grandeur that transcends measurement. The vessel moves through this cathedral of time and pressure. Each meter traversed a step through both physical space and geological memory. Here, science and art are inseparable. The trench is simultaneously an ecosystem, a laboratory, and a monument to the planet's enduring power. As the explorers progress, they are confronted by the full immensity of isolation. Darkness extends infinitely in every direction, interrupted only by the flicker of distant life or the glow of vents. Sound carries oddly through the dense water. Vibrations resonate unnervingly, a reminder of the medium that dominates this realm. Every movement is deliberate, calculated, and cautious. The abyss magnifies human vulnerability, yet simultaneously evokes a sense of wonder that eclipses fear. The deep challenges assumptions, reshapes perception, and demands reverence. Every observation is a revelation, every encounter a lesson in resilience, adaptation, and the sheer audacity of life. The descent nears the deepest reaches of the Hadal Zone. Pressure is immense, darkness complete, and the scale unfathomable. The vessel drifts, a small, fragile artifact of human ingenuity, surrounded by an environment that has existed for eons without awareness of human existence. Every flicker of bioluminescence, every drifting shadow, every pulse of a hydrothermal vent is amplified in meaning. The trench is alive in a way that defies simple description. It communicates through motion, light, and persistence, a living testament to the extremities of survival. The human mind struggles to comprehend its entirety, yet the emotional resonance is undeniable. The Mariana Trench is awe-inspiring, terrifying, and profoundly beautiful. As Part 5 concludes, the first chapter of the journey comes to a reflective close. The descent into darkness has revealed the trench as both physical and emotional landscape, a place where pressure and darkness sculpt life, where isolation and beauty coexist, where survival is an art refined over millions of years. The Mariana Trench has become more than a geographical feature. It is a living entity, a cathedral of life and geology, a reminder that the world holds secrets far beyond human reach. Humanity has glimpsed but not conquered it, witnessed but not dominated it, and in that witnessing there is a profound lesson. Awe, humility, and curiosity are the proper responses to the mysteries that lie beneath the waves. In the Hadal depths, sunlight is a forgotten myth, a memory from a world long above. Darkness is no longer an absence. It is a presence, thick, tangible, and infinite. Here, life has abandoned reliance on the sun, embracing instead its own sources of illumination, a language of flickers, pulses, and glows that convey survival, warning, and allure. The trench transforms into a theater of perpetual night, where the faintest glimmer can signal both predator and prey, life and death, existence and vanishing. It is a world rewritten, an ecosystem painted in shadows and light, where evolution speaks in forms that defy human expectation. The first signs of life are subtle, almost imperceptible. Tiny organisms drift in the black, their translucent bodies catching faint glimpses of artificial light, revealing intricate internal structures that seem more art than anatomy. They move with deliberate grace, their motions choreographed by the currents, by instinct honed over millennia in isolation. Some emit tiny flashes of light, a silent conversation with neighbors, or a lure for the unwary. Each flicker is a miracle of adaptation, a survival strategy so elegant it borders on poetry. Observing them, the mind struggles to reconcile the familiar patterns of life with the alien forms that populate this eternal night. As the vessel descends further, larger creatures begin to reveal themselves, appearing as dark silhouettes against the faint glow of vent communities or bioluminescent flashes. Their forms are strange, often grotesque by surface world standards, yet perfectly adapted to this abyssal domain. Spindly appendages extend in delicate arcs, eyes glow faintly or absent entirely, and bodies undulate with serpentine precision. Some drift slowly, hovering in place, as though contemplating their surroundings. Others dart with predatory intent, their bioluminescent signals creating ephemeral trails of light that mark their presence in the void. In this eternal night, every movement is deliberate, and every interaction is fraught with tension, a negotiation of survival played out in darkness. The hydrothermal vents that punctuate the abyssal plains are lanterns in this perpetual night. Plumes rise steadily from their mineral-rich fissures, a haze of warmth and chemical energy that sustains communities invisible to the sun. Tube worms sway like delicate banners, their feathery tentacles filtering nutrients from the vent emissions. Crustaceans and other small organisms cluster near the vents, feeding, mating, and defending territories in a delicate equilibrium. Here, the absence of sunlight is irrelevant. Energy is drawn from the earth itself, a system both alien and brilliant in its efficiency. These communities are oases, islands of life in the otherwise unyielding darkness, and each encounter with them evokes wonder, a sense of witnessing adaptation perfected against the impossible. Movement in the abyss is slow and deliberate. Currents ripple silently through the water, carrying organisms, sediment, and energy across vast distances. Shadows stretch and fold, distorted by the density of the medium and the absence of light. In this realm, time feels different, elastic, unanchored, measured not in hours, but in the passage of meters and the rhythms of the unseen ecosystem. Every flicker of bioluminescence, every drifting creature, every plume of vent emissions is magnified in significance. The human observers, confined within their fragile vessel, experience a heightened awareness, a consciousness attuned to the faintest hint of life or change. Even the smallest interactions carry profound lessons. Tiny fish illuminate themselves briefly to attract prey or evade predators, while shrimp-like organisms cluster in coordinated groups, each movement a dance dictated by evolutionary necessity. It is a ballet of survival, where every gesture is functional, deliberate, and optimized. Observers cannot help but marvel at the ingenuity encoded into these forms. Here, survival is both art and science, a narrative written in light and motion, unfolding silently in the abyssal darkness. The vessel's lights, though artificial, reveal only glimpses, emphasizing that this is a world not designed for human observation, but adapted perfectly to its own extremes. The psychological weight of this environment is profound. Isolation, darkness, and the vast scale of the abyss combine to create a sense of smallness, a humbling perspective that is both exhilarating and unnerving. Conversation is minimal. The mind becomes focused, attuned to subtle signals, to faint pulses of light, to vibrations that hint at life or landscape changes. Curiosity and fear intertwine. There is awe at the resilience of life, yet a constant awareness of the fragility of human existence in this domain. The trench does not merely house life, it imposes a perspective, a confrontation with the limits of human comprehension, and the vastness of a world operating by rules entirely its own. Glimpses of the larger denizens of the abyss become more frequent. Massive, slow-moving fish glide past, their bodies adorned with luminous patches that serve as both lures and communicative signals. Their movement is fluid and deliberate, an economy of motion perfected over eons. Shadowy predators drift just beyond visibility, their presence suggested by fleeting flashes, subtle distortions in water, or the sudden scattering of smaller organisms. Each encounter is ephemeral, fleeting, yet deeply emotional, an intimate glance into a realm few humans have ever touched. Observation is privilege. The mind strains to record, to interpret, to understand, yet knows it can never fully grasp these forms of life, for they belong entirely to this darkness. The trench itself becomes a canvas for light and shadow. Ridges, cliffs, and volcanic formations rise and fall in patterns both chaotic and ordered. Sediment drifts slowly, shaping the terrain in silent currents that reshape the abyss imperceptibly over centuries. The hydrothermal vents act as focal points, their luminous plumes punctuating the black with living light. Every creature, every shadow, every glow is part of an interwoven system, a network of adaptation and survival that operates beyond human measurement. The observers feel the rhythm of this world, a cadence dictated by energy, motion, and necessity rather than day and night, sun and moon. In these eternal depths, even the act of seeing becomes transformative. The mind adjusts to a language of light and absence, recognizing patterns in flickers and shadows that would be meaningless above. Each encounter is both scientific and poetic, a fusion of observation and emotional resonance. The darkness teaches patience, humility, and attentiveness. In its absolute presence, life becomes both more fragile and more astonishing, and the human spirit, though tested, is elevated by the encounter. The abyss is not merely a location. It is an experience, a confrontation with extremes that reshapes perception and challenges assumptions about what life can endure. The first part of this chapter closes on a moment of quiet awe. The trench stretches endlessly in all directions, an eternal night populated by glowing, flickering communities of life adapted to its extremes. The human observers, enclosed within their fragile vessel, are immersed in a world entirely alien, yet intimately alive. Each pulse of bioluminescence, each shadowy figure, each vent plume is a reminder that life persists, innovates, and flourishes even where light cannot reach. The Mariana Trench is not merely a place of darkness, it is a cathedral of evolution, a realm where the impossible becomes ordinary, and the human mind is humbled and transformed in equal measure. The deeper the vessel drifts into the eternal night, the more alien the environment becomes. The faint glimmers of bioluminescence reveal only fragments of the abyss, teasing the imagination with fleeting impressions of life forms and structures that exist entirely beyond human experience. Shadows stretch and fold in ways that defy logic, and currents ripple silently, carrying both nourishment and danger in equal measure. Here, the mind must surrender its reliance on surface instincts. Perception is measured in subtle shifts of light and motion, in the rhythm of the currents, in the occasional flicker of a living organism that illuminates the darkness for just a moment. Some creatures move with a deliberate, almost contemplative grace. Their bodies are elongated, spindly, or armored in bizarre patterns, adaptations honed over millions of years to survive in crushing pressure and absolute darkness. Eyes, if present, are often luminescent, reflecting faint signals in a language of survival that humans can only speculate about. Others are blind, relying on delicate sensors and fluid dynamics to navigate. The abyss fosters extremes: beauty in grotesque forms, elegance in predatory efficiency, life sustained in what would otherwise be considered impossible conditions. Each encounter, no matter how brief, is a revelation, a glimpse into evolution's capacity to innovate under constraint. Hydrothermal vents act as beacons in this void, their mineral-rich plumes rising like ethereal towers into the black. Around them, entire ecosystems exist in a delicate balance, organisms clustered and thriving, where energy comes not from sunlight but from the earth itself. Tube worms stretch toward the vent emissions, filtering chemicals with intricate precision, while shrimp-like creatures swarm with synchronized movements that suggest instinctual choreography. Even the smallest interactions here are critical. Every pulse of light, every movement, every feeding is part of a survival narrative written in the language of adaptation. Observers realize that these vents are both life-givers and stage sets, centers around which all else revolves. Pressure and darkness do not stifle the creativity of life, they inspire it. Each species exhibits unique forms of bioluminescence, some using light to attract mates, some to lure prey, and others to confuse predators. Tiny flickers flash in patterns too complex to decipher fully, creating a subtle, living constellation that pulses with meaning. These glows illuminate textures and forms previously invisible, casting long, dancing shadows across the seafloor. The abyss is alive, not just with motion, but with communication, and even the most transient spark of light is imbued with purpose. Humanity observes but cannot fully participate. The language of survival here is ancient, refined, and utterly alien. The larger denizens of the trench become more apparent as the descent continues. Massive, ghostly shapes drift in the distance, revealed intermittently by glimmers of natural illumination. Their sheer size defies comprehension, their movements deliberate and measured, as if fully aware of the fragility of their surroundings. Predatory fish glide silently, their bioluminescent lures shimmering in patterns that betray strategy as much as instinct. Encounters with these giants evoke both awe and trepidation. They are reminders of the scale of life in the abyss and of humanity's minute place within it. The human observers, enclosed in their vessel, experience a mix of exhilaration and humility, acutely aware that they are witnesses to a world that has never needed them and never asked for their presence. The seafloor itself is a living canvas, sculpted by geological forces over eons. Jagged cliffs, ridges, and terraces rise from the abyss like frozen waves, carved by tectonic pressures and volcanic upheaval that predate human history. Sediment drifts in slow, almost imperceptible clouds, settling into valleys and depressions that become nurseries for life. The vessel's artificial lights reveal mineral veins glinting faintly, fossils embedded in rock, and subtle undulations in the terrain that hint at ancient event subduction zones, underwater landslides, and volcanic eruptions that shaped the very identity of the trench. Observers realize that they are not merely charting the unknown. They are traversing a landscape of deep time history, witnessing a narrative older than humanity itself. Isolation deepens, and with it, the psychological resonance of the journey intensifies. Silence dominates, occasionally punctuated by the soft hum of instruments or the careful exchange of words among crew members. The mind, attuned to the faintest signals, begins to feel both hyper-aware and fragile, oscillating between awe and disorientation. Time is abstract here. Minutes, hours, and days lose meaning when the abyss stretches endlessly in every direction. Observation becomes meditation, curiosity a lifeline, and fear an intimate companion. Humanity's intrusion is minimal, yet every movement, every emitted light, every measured sound carries weight in this delicate, self-contained ecosystem. Even the most subtle interactions within the abyss are amplified by circumstance. Small organisms cluster and disperse, drift or dart, glow or remain dark, all actions necessary for survival. Predators patrol with an eerie stillness, their presence sometimes betrayed only by the scattering of smaller creatures. The abyss has no need for spectacle, yet it reveals itself in moments of fleeting beauty and efficiency that captivate the human eye. Observing these patterns, the explorers recognize an underlying order, a rhythm of existence that operates entirely independently of the surface world. Every flicker of life is both ephemeral and eternal, a pulse in a network of adaptation that has persisted for millions of years. The abyss challenges perception and imagination simultaneously. Familiar concepts, light, time, motion, and size lose their conventional meanings. Shadows are not merely the absence of light, but a medium in which life communicates and survives. Currents are not merely physical phenomena, but carriers of life and energy, moving nutrients, larvae, and sediment in patterns that sustain the ecosystem. Even predation and reproduction occur in ways adapted to the extreme darkness, requiring creativity and ingenuity on scales difficult to fully grasp. Human observers, constrained by the vessel and the limits of their senses, are left to witness fragments of this intricate ballet, aware that much of it will remain forever unseen. Part 2 of this chapter closes on the haunting beauty of the abyss. Shadows pulse, glows flicker, vents rise like living towers, and massive creatures drift in silence. The eternal night is neither threatening nor comforting. It simply exists, and within it, life thrives in patterns both alien and precise. Humanity's presence is a faint intrusion, but the observations made here offer a glimpse into a world that has evolved independently of surface existence, a world that teaches patience, humility, and the art of survival in darkness. The Mariana Trench is not simply a void, it is a living, breathing ecosystem, a testament to evolution's creativity and a reminder of the mysteries still held within the depths of our planet. As the vessel drifts even deeper into the eternal night, the scale of the abyss becomes increasingly incomprehensible. Darkness surrounds everything, not as a void to be feared, but as a presence that reshapes perception, distorting distance and time. Shadows stretch across unseen landscapes, and the faint glimmers of bioluminescent life punctuate the void with an eerie, fragile beauty. The trench feels alive, not with noise, but with subtle motion. Currents ripple silently, organisms drift and flicker, and hydrothermal plumes rise and fall like gentle exhalations from the earth itself. In this environment, the mind begins to interpret these subtle signals as narrative, as though the abyss itself is telling stories older than humanity. Life forms encountered in this zone are extraordinary, each uniquely adapted to an existence without sunlight, without warmth, without the familiar rhythms of surface life. Fish with translucent bodies reveal their internal organs in haunting detail, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing like distant stars, guiding prey or communicating warnings. Some move with a serpentine elegance, drifting with currents as though they are dancers in a choreography too complex for human comprehension. Others are armored, compact, and deliberate, displaying strategies honed over millions of years. Every movement, every flash of light, every interaction reflects a balance of fragility and resilience, a testament to the ingenuity of life in extreme conditions. Hydrothermal vents continue to serve as life-giving beacons in the blackness. Columns of mineral-rich water rise slowly, sustaining ecosystems that exist entirely independent of sunlight. Tube worms extend delicate filaments into these plumes, filtering chemical energy, while shrimp-like creatures form intricate swarms, moving with a synchrony that seems almost choreographed. Each vent becomes a hub of activity, a vibrant island in a sea of darkness. Observing these communities, the explorers gain insight into survival strategies that are both alien and astonishing. Life here does not merely persist. It thrives, evolves, and communicates in a language written in light, motion, and chemical cues. The vessel passes over terrain that is simultaneously awe-inspiring and disorienting. Cliffs and ridges rise abruptly from the abyssal plain, shaped by volcanic activity and tectonic movement that predate human memory. Sediments drift in slow, ghostly clouds, settling into valleys and creating ephemeral patterns. Occasionally, the vessel illuminates mineral formations that glitter faintly under artificial light, revealing textures and structures that resemble sculptures carved by patient, indifferent hands. Every glance offers both beauty and perspective, a reminder that the planet has existed for eons, crafting intricate landscapes in which life adapts with extraordinary precision. Larger creatures begin to dominate the landscape, silhouetted against faint glows from vent emissions or the occasional flash of bioluminescent light. Their sheer size is staggering, their presence both captivating and unsettling. Shadowy predators patrol silently, gliding through the darkness with a grace born of necessity, while smaller prey species dart in fleeting arcs, their own luminescence signals a mix of communication and evasion. Each encounter emphasizes humanity's minuteness in this environment, a fragile observer in a world that has evolved without the need for our presence. Awe, fear, and respect intertwine as the mind registers the scale, the elegance, and the alien intricacy of these creatures. The psychological weight of the descent grows steadily. Isolation, darkness, and the persistent awareness of the surrounding pressure challenge every instinct. Within the vessel, conversations are minimal. Every sound, every movement, every flicker of light carries significance. Observers adapt their perception, noticing subtle vibrations, the faintest reflections in instrument displays, and patterns of light in the water outside. Each observation becomes meaningful, each discovery emotionally charged. Here, time loses its conventional meaning-minute stretch, perception elongates, and the human mind begins to merge with the rhythm of the abyss, attuned to the ebb and flow of currents, the pulse of vents, and the dance of life in the dark. The abyss is a landscape of contrasts. It is both unforgiving and nurturing, hostile and beautiful. Bioluminescence punctuates the blackness, illuminating forms that would otherwise be invisible, revealing survival strategies perfected over eons. Currents carry nutrients and creatures. Hydrothermal vents provide energy and structure, and the seafloor itself tells stories of ancient geological upheavals. Each element interacts seamlessly with the others, forming a network of life that is both delicate and resilient. Observers are acutely aware that every flicker, every drift, every movement is part of a complex, interdependent system that has existed for millions of years, long before humanity ever existed. Even in moments of stillness, the abyss is active. Sediment shifts slowly across ridges, organisms cluster or disperse, and currents subtly reshape the environment. The largest creatures glide almost imperceptibly, their presence inferred only by displaced water or fleeting luminescent flashes. Each observation reinforces the notion that life here is not chaotic but finely tuned, operating under pressures and constraints that human perception can barely grasp. The explorers realize that they are witnessing not just survival, but mastery of extremes, an artistry of adaptation sculpted by the most relentless forces of nature. The seafloor stretches infinitely in all directions, punctuated by vent communities and shadowy creatures. Every ridge and trench tells a story of eons, of tectonic shifts and volcanic activity, of sedimentation and erosion on a timescale far beyond human comprehension. The vessel drifts silently through this landscape, a fragile human artifact in a cathedral of darkness. Each glimpse, each encounter, is a lesson in humility and wonder, a reminder that the Mariana Trench exists independently of human observation, yet has been patiently waiting for those few bold enough to venture into its depths. Part 3 closes with a moment of quiet reflection. The trench stretches endlessly, an eternal night populated by creatures both fragile and enormous, glowing faintly in patterns that hint at communication, survival, and adaptation. Life persists without sunlight, without warmth, and without respite from pressure, thriving in a realm entirely alien to the surface world. The explorers are not conquerors but witnesses, observers of an ecosystem both ancient and dynamic. In this darkness, humanity is reminded of its fragility, yet inspired by the resilience and ingenuity of life. The abyss is not a void. It is a living, breathing testament to evolution, a cathedral of survival, and a mirror of the unknown possibilities of our planet. The deeper the descent, the more the abyss asserts its dominion. Darkness is complete now, an absolute tangible presence that presses against the vessel and saturates the mind. Here, light is rare and precious, only emitted by the creatures themselves or the vents that punctuate the seafloor. Each glow, each flicker, each reflection becomes a narrative in motion, a signal of life, survival, or danger. Observing this, the crew begins to understand that the Mariana Trench is not simply a location. It is a living chronicle of existence, a theater where adaptation and evolution are performed daily, unobserved by the surface world. Life in the abyss is both delicate and terrifyingly efficient. Fish with transparent bodies reveal their inner organs like jewels, pulsing with faint bioluminescent light. Their movements are hypnotic, slow, and deliberate, yet imbued with an instinctual precision honed over millennia. Predators lurk in the blackness, nearly invisible, their presence betrayed only by brief flashes or the sudden scattering of smaller organisms. Each encounter emphasizes the fine balance of survival. The predator cannot waste energy unnecessarily. The prey cannot miscalculate even momentarily. Every flicker of light, every movement, carries meaning far beyond what human senses can fully interpret. Hydrothermal vents are more than life-givers. They are crossroads of the abyss. Mineral-rich plumes rise slowly from fissures in the Earth's crust, warming the surrounding water and creating pockets of chemical energy. Tube worms stretch toward these plumes, feathery tendrils filtering nutrients, while shrimp-like creatures weave intricate swarms around the vents, moving with a precision that appears choreographed. Even the tiniest organism is inextricably linked to the vent, relying on its energy for survival. Observing these communities, the crew senses both fragility and permanence. The vents are ever-changing, yet stable enough to sustain life in a harsh, otherwise inhospitable environment. The seafloor reveals geological artistry as well. Jagged ridges rise like frozen waves, volcanic spires jut into the abyss, and sediment drifts slowly across the valleys. Each formation is a record of ancient tectonic upheavals, earthquakes, and underwater eruptions, telling stories that predate human history. Occasionally, the vessel's lights catch the glint of mineral veins, fossils embedded in stone, or the delicate patterns of sediment disturbed by currents. The trench is not merely a void. It is a landscape of time, pressure, and patience, where life has evolved to fit perfectly into its sculpted environment. The larger creatures of the abyss begin to dominate the visual landscape. Massive fish glide silently, their bodies adorned with glowing patches that signal intent, attract mates, or lure prey. Shadowy forms drift past, enormous yet graceful, leaving only the faintest impression of their passage. Their existence reinforces humanity's place in the abyss, fragile, temporary, and easily overlooked. The human observers, enclosed in their vessel, are awed by the sheer scale and alien elegance of these beings, realizing that the trench is a realm where survival is perfected, where beauty is inseparable from function, and where life continues despite the extremities that would annihilate surface organisms. The psychological effects of this extreme environment deepen. Isolation, darkness, and immense pressure create an almost sacred intensity. Sound behaves differently under these conditions. Vibrations travel in strange ways, echoing and distorting. Every decision, every action, every observation carries weight. The mind is forced to focus, to notice subtle shifts in currents, flashes of bioluminescence, or mechanical vibrations. The crew adapts, tuning their senses to the environment, understanding that every flicker and movement carries significance in this ecosystem that operates independently of human time or understanding. Patterns emerge in the abyssal life, an intricate dance of survival and adaptation. Bioluminescent signals flash across the blackness, warning, luring, or communicating. Small predators coordinate with precision. Prey species exhibit bursts of speed and synchronized movements. Every action is functional, deliberate, and often breathtaking in its ingenuity. Observing this, the human mind cannot help but connect emotionally, feeling awe and humility in equal measure. Life thrives not because it is meant to, but because it has mastered extremes, and each observer is reminded of the resilience and elegance of evolutionary design. Currents carve the trench like invisible hands, shaping the environment and influencing the distribution of organisms. Sediment clouds drift slowly, reshaping the seafloor imperceptibly. Hydrothermal plumes rise and fold, influencing temperature and chemical gradients that dictate the flow of life. Even at these depths, movement is not random. It is an orchestration of physics and biology intertwined. Observers witness a system of interconnected processes, a network that balances fragility and persistence, survival and adaptation, light and shadow, energy and necessity. Every observation reinforces the sense that the abyss is not passive but active, a living matrix of forces and responses. Part 4 concludes with a profound stillness. The trench extends infinitely, an eternal night where life persists against extremes of pressure, darkness, and isolation. Every flicker of bioluminescence, every drifting organism, every vent plume, and every shadow cast on the seafloor is part of a delicate equilibrium. Humanity's presence is minimal, yet significant, and perception observers are witnesses, catalogers, and students of a world that has evolved without them. The Mariana Trench is more than a location. It is a living testament to the extremes of existence, a cathedral of survival, adaptation, and beauty in darkness. In this realm, awe is inseparable from humility, and curiosity is inseparable from respect. The vessel drifts further into the abyss, where darkness is absolute and pressure is omnipresent, a force that seems almost sentient, reminding those within that they are intruders in a world that has existed for millions of years without human interference. The environment is silent, yet alive. Every flicker of bioluminescence, every pulse of vent emissions, every subtle ripple of current carries information. Observers become attuned to these signals, understanding that in this realm, life communicates in ways unimaginable to the surface world. The trench is not empty. It is a stage for survival, a narrative of resilience written in light, shadow, and motion. Creatures of unimaginable forms glide past, appearing and disappearing like phantoms. Some possess translucent bodies, revealing complex internal systems that seem almost sculptural in their design. Others are armored, their exoskeletons glinting faintly under artificial light, while long, serpentine shapes drift slowly, undulating with hypnotic grace. Predatory fish hover silently, their bioluminescent lures blinking with deceptive rhythm, drawing smaller prey toward danger. Each encounter is fleeting but profound, a momentary glimpse into adaptations perfected over millions of years, a reminder that survival in this darkness requires both ingenuity and efficiency. Hydrothermal vents rise like pillars from the abyssal plain, their mineral-rich plumes creating life-sustaining oases. Tube worms extend delicate filaments, absorbing chemical energy, while shrimp-like organisms swarm around in coordinated patterns, their every movement a survival strategy. These vent communities are paradoxes, harsh in temperature and chemistry, yet teeming with life. They reveal the trench's duality: hostile yet nurturing, extreme yet balanced, a place where life exists against odds that seem insurmountable. The vessel's lights illuminate these colonies briefly, offering a glimpse of a world where energy comes not from sunlight, but from the very crust of the earth itself. The seafloor unfolds in surreal, jagged formations. Volcanic ridges thrust upward, sediment drifts like ghostly clouds, and mineral veins glint faintly under artificial illumination. Each formation tells a story of tectonic upheavals, subduction zones, and slow geological processes that have sculpted the abyss over eons. The landscape is both alien and majestic, a testament to the relentless forces of nature. Observers are struck by the intersection of life and geology, the delicate balance between survival and structure, adaptation and permanence. Every ridge, every trench, every shadow cast by the vessel's lights reinforces the enormity of the abyss and humanity's smallness within it. Larger creatures, elusive and enormous, glide past in haunting silence. Their movements are deliberate, graceful, and completely adapted to life in crushing pressure. Shadowy forms stretch across ridges, disappear into currents, or approach briefly, illuminated only by brief flashes of bioluminescence. The humans inside the vessel are both thrilled and humbled, acutely aware that they are mere witnesses to a drama that has unfolded for millions of years without notice. Every encounter evokes awe, respect, and a subtle fear, an acknowledgement that in the hadal depths, humans are visitors at best, never masters. Psychologically, the descent into eternal night challenges every instinct. Isolation, darkness, and the vastness of the trench force focus, patience, and humility. Time loses meaning. Minutes stretch and fold into perception, measured not by sunlight, but by the subtle rhythms of the environment. Conversations are minimal, each word deliberate, as the mind adapts to noticing vibrations, light patterns, and movement. The abyss is a teacher in patience, in observation, in attentiveness. Humanity must learn to watch without interference, to witness without imposing, to respect a world that operates entirely on its own terms. Life here is a testament to adaptability. Bioluminescence is used for traction, communication, and defense, revealing the remarkable creativity of evolution. Every flicker, every pulse, every flash is purposeful, whether signaling a mate, luring prey, or warning of danger. Predators coordinate with efficiency, prey navigate with precision, and even the smallest interactions are critical for survival. Observers are struck by the ingenuity, resilience, and complexity of these life forms, realizing that in the absence of sunlight, in the face of pressure and darkness, life has not only endured, it has flourished. The abyssal currents continue their silent shaping of the environment. Sediment drifts, vent plumes fold and rise, and water movements carry both nutrients and organisms across vast distances. Every meter of drift reveals patterns and interactions, an interconnected network of life and geology. Observers perceive the rhythm of the abyss, a cadence dictated by energy, pressure, and adaptation rather than day and night. The trench is alive in subtle ways, and the human mind, constrained by instruments and observation, nonetheless becomes attuned to its silent narrative. As Part 5 draws to a close, the vessel is fully immersed in the hadal depths. Darkness is absolute, pressure immense, and the scale unfathomable. The Mariana Trench has revealed itself not as a void, but as a living, breathing ecosystem, a theater of life operating in extremes, a cathedral of resilience, adaptation, and survival. Every flicker of bioluminescence, every drifting organism, every vent plume, and every shadow on the seafloor is a testament to life's persistence and ingenuity. Humanity's role is that of witness, observer, and learner, humbled by the depth, the darkness, and the drama of existence. The first encounters with the deepest, most alien creatures leave the crew silent in awe. These forms, evolved in isolation, are unlike anything known on the surface, massive, delicate, grotesque, and beautiful all at once. They drift with purpose, communicate with light, and survive against extremes that would obliterate life elsewhere. The abyss is revealed as a realm where fragility and strength coexist, where beauty and survival are inseparable, and where the human mind can only glimpse a fraction of the complexity. Each observation is a revelation, a lesson in adaptation, a meditation on life itself. Chapter 2 concludes with the profound realization that the Mariana Trench is more than a geological depression. It is a living narrative of evolution, survival, and endurance. Darkness is not emptiness, but presence. Pressure not menace, but shaping force. An isolation not despair, but a framework for witnessing life's extremities. Humanity has descended into eternal night, not to conquer, but to observe, to learn, and to be transformed by what it finds. In the abyss, awe is inseparable from humility, curiosity inseparable from reverence, and the mysteries of the deep remain eternal, waiting for the patient, the bold, and the respectful to bear witness. The titans of the trench do not announce themselves. They exist in the quiet mastery of their environment, moving with a grace that belies their immense size. Observers catch glimpses of elongated forms drifting through the black, appendages undulating in fluid motion, bodies partially illuminated by faint bioluminescent glows. Each movement is purposeful, honed over millions of years in an environment where inefficiency equals death. These giants are simultaneously predators, navigators, and architects of their abyssal domain, exerting influence on currents, sediment, and the distribution of smaller organisms without ever breaking the silence of the eternal night. Hydrothermal vents remain central to their existence. The titans are drawn to the warmth and chemical energy of these plumes, not merely for sustenance, but as centers for interaction, hunting, and perhaps even communication. Tube worms and swarms of smaller crustaceans cluster near the vents, creating bustling communities that pulse with activity under the oppressive darkness. The giants move through these microcosms with careful deliberation, aware that the ecosystem relies on balance and that even the smallest disturbance can have far-reaching consequences. Observers inside the vessel sense the interconnectedness of life in ways impossible to replicate on the surface. Here, survival is a network, a choreography of energy, light, and motion. The abyssal giants display forms of bioluminescence both mesmerizing and functional. Luminous patterns ripple along bodies, sometimes flashing intermittently, sometimes glowing steadily, serving multiple purposes, attracting prey, warning rivals, or signaling conspecifics in the darkness. The flashes are neither random nor decorative. They are integral to the survival of the species, encoded through eons of natural selection. For human observers, these light patterns are hypnotic, almost musical in their rhythm. A language that exists entirely beyond human comprehension, yet communicates something universal: presence, intent, life itself. Despite their size, the titans are remarkably adapted to the immense pressures of the trench. Flexible bones, compressible tissues, and specialized internal systems allow them to withstand forces that would crush surface life instantly. Their movement through the dense water is almost ghostly silent, precise, and efficient. Observers note that while the giants dominate visually, their true mastery lies in subtlety. They move through the abyss as if it were an extension of themselves, interacting with currents, sediments, and smaller creatures in ways that preserve balance while asserting dominance. Each motion is negotiation, a lesson in survival perfected over millennia. Psychologically, the presence of these creatures is overwhelming. The human mind struggles to reconcile their immense size with their fluid grace, their alien anatomy with the intelligence their behaviors suggest. Silence reigns inside the vessel. Conversations cease as eyes remain glued to fleeting shadows, to faint pulses of light, to shapes that vanish as quickly as they appear. Each observation reinforces a profound truth. In the Hadal depths, life operates on a scale and with a complexity that dwarfs human perception. Awe is constant, humility unavoidable. The Titans remind observers of their fragility, yet inspire a deep, almost reverent curiosity about the unknown. The trench itself becomes a partner in this ballet. Ridges, cliffs, and valleys guide the movement of the giants, shaping the rhythm of predation, navigation, and interaction. Currents act as invisible highways, allowing enormous bodies to drift effortlessly while smaller creatures cling or swim with purpose. The Titans exploit these natural formations with remarkable precision, navigating narrow channels, gliding past hydrothermal plumes, and avoiding obstacles in ways that suggest an intuitive understanding of the landscape. Observers realize that here, intelligence is expressed through adaptation, motion, and environmental mastery rather than cognition in human terms. Predatory behavior is subtle, almost imperceptible. Large fish glide past clusters of smaller organisms, flashing bioluminescent lures to entice or distract. Swarms of prey move in synchronized patterns, evading with collective precision. Even the Titan's size does not guarantee dominance. Hunting and survival are exercises in strategy, patience, and efficiency. Observers inside the vessel are struck by the elegance of these interactions. Life in the abyss is not chaotic, but a finely tuned system where every gesture, every flash, every drift has purpose. The trench teaches that survival under extremes is an art as much as a science. Hydrothermal vents continue to illuminate fleeting glimpses of life. Giant forms move through the plumes, their movements slow but commanding, stirring sediment, influencing currents, and interacting with the smaller organisms that cluster near these oases. The vents themselves act as microcosms of the trench, revealing interactions that are simultaneously delicate and violent, cooperative and predatory. Observers begin to sense the rhythm of the ecosystem. Vent life pulses, smaller creatures respond, Titans glide, and the trench itself absorbs and reflects the energy of these movements. Each cycle is a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of life under conditions humans can scarcely endure. Even in moments of apparent stillness, the Titans are shaping the abyss. Currents, sediment, and light are all subtly altered by their presence, revealing influence that extends far beyond their immediate surroundings. Observers note patterns that repeat across distances. Bioluminescent flashes timed with predator movements. Sediment clouds displaced in arcs, consistent with hunting strategies, and subtle currents exploited for locomotion. Every detail reinforces the interconnectedness of this extreme ecosystem, highlighting that survival here requires both adaptation and intimate knowledge of the environment. Part 2 concludes with a profound sense of reverence. The hidden Titans drift silently through eternal night, enormous, graceful, and impossibly adapted to the extremes of their world. Hydrothermal vents pulse with life, currents ripple through sediments, and bioluminescent signals flash like distant stars in the blackness. Human observers are witnesses to a drama older than humanity itself, an intricate ballet of survival, strategy, and adaptation. In the presence of these giants, the mind is humbled, curiosity is sharpened, and the depth of the Mariana Trench is recognized not merely as a location, but as a cathedral of life, resilience, and evolution perfected in darkness. As the vessel glides deeper into the trench, the Titan's presence becomes increasingly tangible, their sheer scale impossible to ignore. Shadows stretch and fold in the dim bioluminescent light, elongating into forms that seem both monumental and surreal. Appendages drift like banners in the currents. Bodies pulse with subtle luminescence, and movements occur with a deliberation that speaks of perfect adaptation. Here, the Titans are not simply creatures. They are the architects of their domain, sculpting currents, displacing sediments, and subtly influencing the behavior of every organism within the abyss. Observation requires patience. Each momentary glimpse is a fragment of a vast, interwoven narrative. Life in the abyss is a study in contrasts. The Titans dominate visually, yet they exist in delicate harmony with smaller creatures. Tiny fish dart in coordinated patterns, their translucent bodies illuminated by intermittent flashes of light. Predators glide silently, their bioluminescent organs pulsing with deceptive rhythm, while prey species employ evasive maneuvers perfected over millennia. The giants interact with these smaller organisms not with brute force, but with subtle influence, altering currents and light in ways that guide or disrupt. The trench is a theater of survival, and the Titans are both performers and directors, their massive forms orchestrating the rhythm of life in darkness. Hydrothermal vent systems remain crucial. Pillars of mineral-rich water rise steadily. Their plumes warm pockets of the surrounding abyss and create microhabitats teeming with life. Tube worms sway in the chemical currents, feeding on energy derived from the earth itself, while shrimp-like organisms weave intricate paths, each movement purposeful. The Titans move through these oases with respect and precision, careful not to disrupt the delicate balance that sustains countless other species. Observers note that these interactions are not coincidental. The giants have evolved behaviors attuned to their environment, navigating, hunting, and communicating in ways that preserve the ecosystem even as they assert dominance. The trench's topology shapes every movement. Ridges, cliffs, and valleys form pathways and hunting grounds, dictating how giants and smaller organisms traverse the abyss. Currents act as invisible highways, guiding their glide and supporting movement with minimal effort. The Titans' enormous bodies utilize these pathways intuitively, their navigation seeming almost preternatural. Observers inside the vessel are struck by this fluid mastery, understanding that intelligence here is expressed through adaptation and environmental interaction rather than cognition in human terms. Every shift of the giant's body, every adjustment to current, is both strategy and instinct, a lesson in survival at scales unimaginable above the surface. Encounters with Titans evoke profound psychological responses. The human mind struggles to reconcile size, grace, and alien anatomy. Silence dominates the vessel. Even breathing seems amplified in the weight of the abyss. Each flicker of bioluminescence, each shadow, each displacement of sediment carries significance. Awe, fear, and reverence intertwine, creating an emotional landscape as complex as the physical one outside. Observers understand that they are intruders in a domain perfected over eons, yet their presence provides a rare opportunity to witness a world where life has achieved extremes of adaptation that the surface mind can scarcely comprehend. The Titan's bioluminescence is both mesmerizing and purposeful. Patterns ripple along bodies, alternating in brightness and rhythm, signaling presence, warning rivals, luring prey. To human eyes, these flashes are poetic, almost musical, yet in the abyss they are functional, essential components of survival. Observers begin to perceive subtle codes in the patterns, recognizing the complexity of communication and strategy among these giants. Every pulse is a reminder that life here is not chaotic, but a sophisticated interplay of adaptation, instinct, and environmental mastery. Hydrothermal vents illuminate fleeting moments of interaction. Sediment plumes shift with currents stirred by Titans, while smaller creatures scatter, cluster, and react. Observers notice that the giant's passage subtly reshapes these microhabitats, altering the flow of energy and nutrients. The trench itself becomes a participant in this dance. Topography, currents, and plumes interact with biological presence to create an intricate, self-sustaining system. Here, every action has consequence. Every movement ripples through the ecosystem, and life persists through precision and balance rather than abundance or force. Psychologically, isolation in the trench deepens understanding of scale and time. Minutes stretch and fold, measured not by sunlight, but by subtle changes in currents, the flicker of light or the movement of a shadow. Observers adapt, attuning senses to signals that would be meaningless elsewhere. Awareness sharpens. Every detail matters. The Titans, immense yet subtle in motion, become guides in this lesson, revealing the sophistication of life operating at extremes. Humanity's presence is temporary, but the insights gained are profound. Survival in darkness requires ingenuity, patience, and an intimate connection with the environment. Part 3 closes with a moment of quiet grandeur. The Titans drift silently, enormous and perfectly adapted, their bioluminescent patterns glowing faintly in the blackness. Hydrothermal vents pulse, currents ripple, and the trench hums with the subtle rhythm of life. Observers are witnesses to creatures that have mastered extremes of pressure, darkness, and isolation. Their existence, a testament to evolution's ingenuity. In their presence, humanity is humbled, curiosity is sharpened, and the Mariana Trench reveals itself not merely as a location, but as a cathedral of survival, resilience, and awe-inspiring adaptation. The Titan's dominion becomes ever more apparent as the vessel glides silently through the abyss. Their enormous forms cast shadows that stretch across the jagged ridges and sedimented valleys, emphasizing a scale that challenges comprehension. Each movement is fluid yet deliberate, a mastery of survival that communicates power without aggression. The giants interact with the trench as if it were an extension of themselves. Currents are used to conserve energy, ridges to ambush prey, and vent plumes as navigational markers. Observers realize that in this environment, dominance is not brute force, but perfect adaptation, an interplay of instinct, design, and environmental awareness honed over millennia. Bioluminescence continues to reveal the Titans in fleeting glimpses. Pulses of light trace along their spines, ripple across appendages, or flash intermittently, functioning as both camouflage and communication. Observers see patterns that are mesmerizing in their complexity. Some signals seem to attract smaller creatures, while others appear to warn rivals or coordinate with distant Titans. The interplay of light and shadow transforms the abyss into a living theater, where every gesture has purpose, and every pulse carries information essential to survival. The human mind, though unable to fully decode these signals, is captivated by their rhythm, sensing both beauty and function intertwined. Hydrothermal vents remain central to this drama. Pillars of warm, mineral-rich water rise steadily, forming microhabitats that sustain communities of tubeworms, crustaceans, and smaller fish. The Titans glide near these oases, their presence subtly influencing the distribution and behavior of countless organisms. Sediments stir under their immense bodies, currents shift with their passage, and light from bioluminescence dances across the vent plumes. Observers begin to perceive the scale of influence these giants exert. They are not isolated predators, but integral components of the abyssal ecosystem, shaping life while simultaneously being shaped by it. The trench's geography dictates movement in profound ways. Narrow channels guide their glides, expansive plains allow them to drift effortlessly, and ridges provide both shelter and vantage points. Currents function as invisible highways, enabling enormous bodies to travel with minimal energy expenditure. Observers notice that the Titan's interaction with topography is instinctual yet refined. suggesting a deep evolutionary mastery over their environment. Each maneuver, no matter how subtle, reflects a balance between exertion and efficiency, a testament to the elegance of life operating under extreme conditions. Predatory behavior is understated but precise. Massive creatures approach prey with calculated movements, often using light to distract, lure, or communicate with allies. Swarms of smaller organisms respond with synchronized evasion, their collective intelligence ensuring survival in a landscape dominated by giants. Even size does not guarantee success. The Titan's mastery lies in strategy and timing. Observers inside the vessel sense a delicate tension in every encounter, a rhythm of life where efficiency and precision outweigh raw power, and where survival is a continuous negotiation between predator, prey, and environment. The psychological weight of the Titan's presence is profound. Observers are engulfed in awe, acutely aware of their own fragility amidst creatures perfectly adapted to extremes that humans could never endure. Silence dominates the vessel. Even the soft hum of instruments seems amplified against the eternal night outside. Every flicker of light, every shadow, every subtle movement of water becomes imbued with significance. Humanity is both a witness and a participant in understanding the scale, intelligence, and grace of life at these depths, humbled by the realization that these creatures operate independently of human perception, yet their existence is no less remarkable. Hydrothermal vent interactions provide moments of revelation. As Titans glide past, sediment clouds drift in slow arcs. Smaller organisms scatter, and light flashes trace the contours of enormous bodies. The interplay creates a living tableau: predator, prey, and environment linked in constant motion. Observers perceive the ecosystem as a dynamic network, where every action resonates across multiple scales. Life persists through balance, efficiency, and adaptation, each component functioning within an elegant, interdependent system. The Abyss demonstrates that survival is not merely persistence, it is orchestration, a continuous performance refined by evolution over millions of years. Even in apparent stillness, the Titans shape the Abyss. Currents are subtly altered, sediment rearranged, and bioluminescent flashes timed with the movement of bodies. Observers note recurring patterns: clusters of prey adjusting to the presence of a predator, light pulses signaling shifts in behavior, and currents used to conserve energy. Every action contributes to an ongoing narrative of life, a testament to the complexity of adaptation and the subtle mastery of survival. The giants are architects, predators, and participants, their existence inseparable from the trench that shelters them. Part 4 concludes with an overwhelming sense of majesty. Shadows of enormous forms drift endlessly through the blackness. Vents pulse with life, and the rhythm of currents continues its silent song. Observers are reminded that the Titan's mastery is not expressed through brute force, but through perfect adaptation, strategic precision, and intimate interaction with their environment. Humanity is a witness, humbled by scale and inspired by ingenuity. The Mariana Trench reveals itself as more than a location. It is a cathedral of survival, resilience, and elegance in darkness, where giants roam and life has perfected the art of existence beyond the surface world. The Titans of the Abyss move with a rhythm that seems almost imperceptible at first, yet it defines the life of the trench. Massive bodies glide through currents, appendages undulating with subtle power, and bioluminescent signals ripple across their forms like faint alien constellations. Observers in the vessel feel the weight of their presence, not just physical, but existential. In this eternal night, these giants are both rulers and participants, shaping and responding to the environment with a precision that defies human understanding. Each movement, no matter how slight, carries consequence, influencing currents, sediment, and the behavior of countless smaller organisms. Hydrothermal vent communities remain vital centers of activity. The Titans drift through these zones with a measured grace, aware of the fragile ecosystems that thrive here. Tube worms extend delicate filaments into the mineral-rich plumes. Shrimp-like creatures swarm with precise choreography, and fish flash bioluminescent signals that punctuate the darkness. The giant's passage subtly reshapes these microhabitats. Sediment clouds rise, currents shift, and light patterns dance across the vent columns. Observers begin to understand that survival in the trench is not a solitary endeavor. It is a complex web of interdependence, where every life form, from the smallest crustacean to the largest titan, contributes to a delicate equilibrium. The trench's topology dictates every nuance of movement. Ridges, cliffs, and valleys create natural corridors that guide predators and prey alike. Currents act as invisible highways, allowing titans to traverse vast distances with minimal energy expenditure. Observers notice the intuitive mastery with which these enormous creatures navigate the three-dimensional labyrinth of the abyss. Each glide is an exercise in efficiency, every motion a lesson in adaptation. Intelligence here is expressed through environmental mastery, not cognition as humans know it, and observers are humbled by the sophistication evident in every arc, turn, and subtle adjustment. Predatory behavior is precise and understated. Massive forms approach swarms of smaller organisms with calculated intent. Flashing bioluminescent splicolic, the experience is overwhelming. The human mind struggles to comprehend the scale, grace, and alien anatomy of these giants. Silence dominates the vessel. Every instrument hum and subtle vibration amplified against the abyssal darkness. Observers attune themselves to subtle cues, flickers of light, displaced sediment, and the faint motion of currents, each carrying significance in a world where survival is perfected through adaptation. Awe and humility intertwine with a profound sense of reverence. Humanity is a visitor, bearing witness to life forms that have mastered extremes far beyond surface understanding. Bioluminescence remains a mesmerizing constant. Patterns ripple along the titans' bodies, flashing intermittently, pulsing steadily, or moving in coordinated waves. These lights are not decorative. They are essential, communicating presence, intent, or warning, and influencing the behavior of other organisms. Observers sense rhythm and logic in the sequences, even if their meaning remains beyond human comprehension. In these pulses, the titans express survival, communication, and existence itself, and the human mind, though limited, cannot help but feel connected to this ancient language of light. Interactions with hydrothermal vent systems provide fleeting but illuminating insights. Titans glide past plumes, stirring sediments, redistributing nutrients, and influencing the behavior of countless smaller creatures. The vents act as microcosms of the trench, demonstrating how every action resonates through multiple layers of the ecosystem. Observers begin to perceive patterns. The timing of light pulses, sediment clouds moving in arcs consistent with hunting strategies, and currents subtly redirected to conserve energy. The giants are architects, predators, and participants, and their existence is inseparable from the dynamic environment that sustains them. Lures or adjusting currents to influence movement. Swarms respond with coordinated invasion, creating a dance of survival that blends strategy, instinct, and environmental awareness. Even immense size does not guarantee dominance. The Titan's effectiveness lies in timing, efficiency, and understanding of the ecosystem. Observers witness these interactions in silence, recognizing the elegance of a system where energy is conserved, risks calculated, and life thrives through precision rather than force. Even in stillness, the Titans shape the abyss. Their massive forms subtly alter currents, their passage redistributes sediment, and their bioluminescent flashes orchestrate movement across species. Observers perceive the ecosystem as a living network, where every element from the smallest organism to the largest titan contributes to a finely tuned balance. Survival is not chaotic, but deliberate, a continuous negotiation between predator, prey, and environment. Life in the trench persists not by chance, but by mastery, adaptation, and intricate interdependence. Part 5 concludes with a sense of quiet transcendence. The Titans drift silently through the eternal blackness, their enormous bodies glowing faintly, currents rippling in response to their passage, and hydrothermal vents pulsing with life. Observers are witnesses to a world that has evolved beyond human comprehension, a realm where size, adaptation, and subtlety define existence. Humanity is humbled, curiosity sharpened, and awe intensified. The Mariana Trench is revealed not as a mere geographic feature, but as a cathedral of survival, resilience, and elegance in darkness, where hidden giants roam and life achieves perfection in extremes beyond the reach of sunlight, warmth, or human perception. As the vessel drifts into even deeper waters, a new kind of darkness takes hold, one that is not merely the absence of light but a palpable weight, pressing against the senses, challenging perception. Here, the Mariana Trench becomes less a physical space and more a psychological realm, a void where every shadow conceals possibility. Every flicker of light carries potential meaning. The unknown stretches infinitely, a vast canvas upon which life, in forms both familiar and alien, continues its quiet struggle for existence. Observers realize that in these depths, the line between reality and imagination blurs. The trench is not simply a habitat, but a theater where perception itself must adapt to extremes. Life in this zone is subtle, elusive, and often terrifying in its unpredictability. Bioluminescent flashes dart across the darkness, tiny signals from organisms that have perfected light as a language of survival. The creatures here are less visible but no less vital. Their movements are whispers against the void, currents and chemical gradients guiding them as surely as the instincts of titans guide the abyssal giants. Shadows twist and fold as these beings drift, merge, and vanish, leaving observers with tantalizing glimpses that hint at forms both grotesque and sublime. In this hidden world, life thrives not through abundance, but through adaptation, stealth, and an intimate connection to the environment. The trench's topology becomes a silent architect of behavior. Jagged ridges rise like frozen waves, valleys drift with sediment, and volcanic spires punctuate the endless plains. These formations serve as corridors, hiding places, and hunting grounds for the myriad creatures that call the abyss home. Observers notice that even the smallest organism interacts with these structures with intention. Currents are exploited, shadows navigated, chemical cues followed. Each movement, each flash of light, each subtle ripple in the water forms part of a larger choreography, a silent dance of survival in a realm untouched by sunlight or warmth. Hydrothermal vents punctuate the darkness like glowing monoliths. Pillars of mineral-rich water rise steadily, creating pockets of energy that sustain entire communities. Tube worms sway in the chemical plumes, their feathery filaments filtering nutrients, while crustaceans move with astonishing precision, responding to currents, light, and chemical signals. Observers realize that the vents act as both oasis and nexus. Life congregates here not by choice alone, but by necessity. The shadows of the unknown are illuminated briefly by these oases, revealing patterns of interaction, predation, and survival that underscore the intricacy of life in extreme darkness. The psychological effect of this environment is profound. Isolation, crushing pressure, and perpetual darkness challenge the mind, altering perception and sharpening instincts. The human observers are forced to focus intensely, to notice the smallest flashes of light or subtle changes in current that signal the presence of life. Each observation becomes a meditation on patience and attention. The abyss demands more than sight. It demands understanding, intuition, and respect. In this silence, even the smallest shadow feels monumental, every flicker a story of adaptation, every movement a testament to resilience. Encounters with unknown creatures are fleeting yet impactful. Forms emerge from shadows, elongated, translucent, armored, grotesque, or delicate, only to vanish into the black. Observers sense intelligence in the timing of movement, strategy in hunting patterns, and subtle communication through bioluminescent flashes. The unknown here is not chaotic, but deliberate. It is life perfected for survival under extremes. Even when direct observation is impossible, the effects of these creatures on currents, sediments, and smaller organisms reveal their presence, providing clues to behaviors and interactions that remain largely mysterious. The trench itself exerts influence over all life within it. Currents twist and fold, sediments drift imperceptibly, and chemical gradients flow like invisible rivers, guiding the movement of organisms and shaping ecosystems. Shadows of rocks and ridges create hiding places, ambush sites, and corridors for travel. Observers note that in this world, adaptation is not optional, it is essential. Every organism, from the smallest microbe to the largest hidden predator, is sculpted by these forces, and each interaction leaves traces that ripple through the ecosystem. The shadows are alive, not empty. They are theaters where survival is enacted with precision and subtlety. The bioluminescence of deep-sea creatures becomes a language of survival, signaling presence, warning rivals, or luring prey. Observers notice sequences and rhythms, patterns repeated and modified, each conveying intention. In this perpetual darkness, light is life, movement is meaning, and shadow is both danger and protection. Even massive predators navigate with discretion, their immense forms gliding silently through unseen corridors, relying on flashes of light, subtle currents, and chemical cues. Every gesture is a negotiation with the environment, and every action echoes through the ecosystem, shaping survival on multiple scales. Part 1 closes with a profound tension between awe and fear. The shadows of the unknown stretch endlessly, populated by forms seen only in glimpses, inferred from currents, or betrayed by faint pulses of bioluminescence. Observers recognize the abyss as a realm where humans are both intruders and learners, where life persists in complexity and ingenuity that dwarfs comprehension. The Mariana Trench is no longer merely a geological feature. It is a crucible of extremes, a cathedral of life perfected in darkness, and a place where every shadow hides a story, every flicker of light conveys meaning, and the unknown is as vital as the known. The shadows of the trench conceal more than just life. They hide entire ecosystems functioning in near-perfect isolation. Here, survival is a negotiation with darkness, pressure, and scarcity. Organisms navigate invisible corridors formed by ridges, sediment clouds, and currents, each movement deliberate, each choice consequential. Observers note the intricate choreography. Small fish flash bioluminescent signals in rhythmic pulses. Shrimp-like creatures weave through vent plumes with astonishing precision, and predators move silently, exploiting both terrain and current. Even the smallest organism becomes a participant in the trench's invisible dance, where shadows dictate strategy, movement, and survival. Hydrothermal vents act as lighthouses in this eternal night. Their plumes of warm, mineral-rich water create pockets of energy, sustaining life otherwise impossible in such darkness. Tube worms extend delicate filaments, absorbing chemical energy, while crustaceans and other small organisms cluster with remarkable coordination. Larger predators, moving silently through the black, exploit these hubs, their presence subtly influencing the distribution and behavior of entire communities. Observers recognize that even the titans of the trench are bound to these centers of life, revealing that no creature, regardless of size, is isolated from the network that defines existence in the abyss. The trench's darkness amplifies the effects of adaptation. Creatures have evolved sensory systems attuned to bioluminescence, vibration, and chemical cues, allowing them to navigate, hunt, and communicate where vision fails. Observers notice flashes of light appearing unexpectedly, flickers that indicate presence, strategy, or intention. Some organisms use deception, flashing to distract prey or warn rivals, while others synchronize movements to evade predators. Life in this zone is both brutal and precise. Survival is achieved not by force alone, but by timing, coordination, and acute awareness of the unseen. Psychologically, this environment is taxing. Isolation and darkness challenge cognition and perception, forcing observers to rely on intuition and observation rather than instinctual cues familiar at the surface. Every flicker of light becomes significant. Every shadow could conceal predator or prey. Time loses conventional meaning, measured instead by subtle shifts in current, light, and movement. Observers feel simultaneously small and enlightened, humbled by the scale of life and complexity operating beyond human comprehension. The shadows are not empty. They are alive with purpose, danger, and revelation. Predation in this realm is subtle, almost imperceptible. Massive predators move with deliberate economy, exploiting currents and terrain to ambush prey. Smaller organisms respond with coordinated evasion, displaying collective intelligence honed over millennia. Observers witness sequences of interaction that are elegant in their complexity. Bioluminescent lures flash, prey scatter, currents shift, and the dance continues. Even enormous creatures must rely on strategy, patience, and environmental mastery. The shadows here conceal both hunter and hunted, creating tension that is palpable even from inside the vessel. Hydrothermal vents reveal interactions otherwise invisible in the darkness. Sediment clouds drift when disturbed, small organisms scatter, and so flashes of light mark the passage of predators. Observers notice patterns repeating across locations and time, currents exploited for movement, coordinated prey behavior, and predatory strategies that leave faint but measurable effects. The trench emerges as a vast network of cause and effect, where shadows guide life, light communicates, and the environment itself is a participant in the drama of survival. The unknown exerts a continuous psychological influence. Observers are aware that the abyss may harbor forms of life never before seen organisms, evolved in isolation for millions of years. Shadows hide the unexpected, elongated shapes drifting silently, translucent bodies folding into the darkness, appendages that flicker with unknown purpose. Every observation carries both awe and caution. Even a fleeting glimpse reminds the human mind of its limitations. The Mariana Trench becomes not just a location of study, but a crucible for understanding life at extremes, testing the boundaries of perception, patience, and scientific curiosity. Bioluminescence becomes both language and tool. Flashes communicate, lure, distract, and warn. Observers notice patterns suggesting rhythm, coordination, and purpose, even if the precise meaning remains beyond comprehension. In the absence of sunlight, light is life, signaling intent, shaping behavior, and connecting species across unseen distances. Every flicker in the abyss carries weight. It could indicate food, danger, or communication. Observers begin to perceive life not as isolated individuals, but as a network of interaction where even the tiniest signal matters. Part 2 closes with the realization that the shadows themselves are alive. The abyss is not empty darkness, but a dynamic environment, where creatures move with strategy. Currents carry information, and every interaction contributes to survival. Observers understand that the unknown here is not merely absence, it is potential. It is life in its most extreme and adaptive form. Humanity is humbled by the precision, ingenuity, and subtlety of existence in these depths. The Mariana Trench emerges not only as a geological marvel, but as a cathedral of unseen life, where shadows hold stories, light conveys meaning, and the unknown remains eternal, waiting for the patient and the perceptive to witness. As the vessel drifts further, the shadows of the unknown begin to reveal shapes larger and stranger than anything previously observed. These forms move with an eerie fluidity, their outlines often only partially visible, revealed by brief flickers of bioluminescence or the subtle displacement of sediment in the currents. Observers sense an intelligence in these movements, a rhythm honed over eons, as if the trench itself has guided life to perfection. The creatures here are not merely surviving. They are thriving in a world of extremes, mastering pressure, darkness, and scarcity in ways that defy imagination. The trench's terrain dictates the behavior of these elusive beings. Steep ridges and deep valleys create corridors and ambush points, forcing predators and prey alike to negotiate a labyrinth of rock and sediment. Hydrothermal vents provide both sustenance and shelter, their mineral-rich plumes supporting dense clusters of life. Observers note that even the largest predators move with care, using shadows and currents to their advantage, conserving energy while remaining effective hunters. In this environment, strategy is as essential as strength. Survival is a precise negotiation with both the seen and the unseen. Small creatures move in complex synchrony. Schools of fish flash coordinated patterns of light, while shrimp-like organisms dart between vent plumes with uncanny precision. Predators exploit these movements with subtlety, timing attacks to coincide with patterns of vulnerability. Observers realize that even in the absence of size or force, mastery of timing and environment allows life to flourish. The trench is a testament to adaptation, a realm where intelligence is expressed through motion, strategy, and awareness rather than cognition as humans know it. Bioluminescence becomes a language of connection, warning, and predation. Tiny pulses ripple across bodies, signaling presence, deterring rivals, or attracting prey. Observers watch as coordinated flashes ripple through swarms, a silent communication system that orchestrates behavior without sound. Even massive creatures participate in this light-based dialogue, their patterns subtle yet precise, conveying intent across distances invisible to the human eye. The darkness, far from being empty, is alive with communication, interaction, and unseen negotiations of survival. The trench exerts a psychological weight that grows with every hour. Isolation, darkness, and pressure press upon the vessel and its crew, sharpening perception while testing patience. Observers find themselves attuned to every flicker, every shadow, every movement of sediment or light. The unknown becomes a constant companion, simultaneously awe-inspiring and unsettling. Humanity's presence here is temporary. The trench, with its infinite darkness and hidden life, remains eternal, indifferent yet magnificent, a reminder of the vastness and complexity of life beyond the surface world. Hydrothermal vents reveal ecosystems operating with delicate precision. Tube worms sway in chemical currents, crustaceans maneuver in coordinated patterns, and small fish exploit every nook of warmth and mineral availability. The shadows of the unknown interact with these microhabitats subtly, stirring sediment, redirecting currents, and influencing the distribution of life. Observers perceive the interdependence. Even massive, unseen predators are tied to these hubs of energy, their movements affecting the smallest organisms, shaping survival in ways that are invisible yet critical. Predatory strategies in this realm are exercises in patience and timing. Giants drift silently, using darkness and currents to approach prey, while swarms respond with synchronized evasive maneuvers. The interplay between predator and prey creates a tension that is both terrifying and mesmerizing. Observers realize that the trench operates as a theater of extremes, where life has refined efficiency, stealth, and strategy to levels unimaginable on the surface. Survival is a balance between instinct, adaptation, and environmental mastery, with the shadows themselves as both ally and adversary. Even stillness is deceptive. Currents shift imperceptibly, sediment drifts, and bioluminescent signals flicker in patterns that hint at hidden presence. Observers understand that the trench is never truly at rest. Life continues its intricate dance, whether seen or unseen. The unknown is not empty. It is a medium for existence, a framework within which adaptation, survival, and evolution play out continuously. Shadows are alive with history, consequence, and potential, revealing that the abyss is both a repository of past adaptations and a crucible for ongoing survival. Part 3 closes with the overwhelming realization that the unknown holds not just life, but mastery of extremes. Shadows conceal, light communicates, and life flourishes where humans cannot endure. Observers feel humility, awe, and an urgent curiosity. The Mariana Trench is not merely a location on a map, but a cathedral of survival, adaptation, and hidden intelligence. The unknown is eternal, impenetrable, and yet profoundly instructive, challenging humanity to observe with respect, patience, and wonder. The shadows of the unknown deepen as the vessel drifts further into the hadal depths, revealing forms that challenge imagination. Shapes twist and fold in the darkness, glimpsed only through fleeting flashes of bioluminescence or the subtle displacement of sediment. Each movement is deliberate, fluid, and purposeful, suggesting mastery of a realm where human survival is impossible. Observers sense intelligence in these movements, a rhythm refined by millions of years of evolution. Here, life is not merely surviving. It is thriving, orchestrating itself with precision and grace in a world that offers no mercy. Hydrothermal vents punctuate the darkness like luminous beacons, creating oases in a sea of black. Their mineral-rich plumes rise steadily, forming pockets of energy where life concentrates and flourishes. Tube worms sway in the currents, absorbing chemical sustenance, while crustaceans dart with astonishing precision. Predators exploit these hubs, their presence subtly influencing the flow of currents, the movement of sediments, and the distribution of prey. Observers realize that these interactions form a delicate balance, where even the largest creatures are dependent on smaller life forms, and where survival is a networked, interdependent phenomenon. The trench's topography dictates the behavior of its inhabitants. Jagged ridges and deep valleys create natural corridors, ambush points, and hiding places. Currents twist and turn like invisible rivers, guiding movement and shaping interaction. Observers notice that even massive predators use these features with careful calculation, conserving energy while maximizing hunting efficiency. Every glide along a ridge, every pause in a shadowed canyon, every subtle shift in orientation reflects an intuitive understanding of the environment. Intelligence here is expressed not through thought, as humans understand it, but through perfect adaptation to the contours, currents, and pressures of the abyss. Bioluminescence serves as a silent language, revealing presence, signaling intent, and orchestrating behavior. Flashes ripple through swarms, pulses guide predators, and subtle illuminations communicate warnings or invitations. Observers watch as sequences repeat, modified slightly each time, suggesting complexity in both communication and strategy. The darkness, far from empty, is a theater of interaction where every flicker carries meaning. Even the largest, most elusive predators participate in this network, their subtle signals shaping the movement and behavior of smaller organisms in a continuous, delicate dance of survival.